Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. How are we all today? I'm hoping we're quite good. This is where I'm going to open the stream with a little bit of honesty. I am having a stinker. I am not having a good day. So, it's not going to be the longest of streams, but I'm going to try and get the general gist across in any case. We'll get into absolutely everything. The basics of this one. I saw a story and I was like, oh, cool, that's quite interesting. Let's have a little bit of a deep dive into it. And it's specifically surrounding the issue with Mateo Joseph. And I would argue the issue with Mateo Joseph is that he still sort of is present and exists, but that's not the main sort of gist. Anyway, the entire sort of concept around this is there was a piece that came out earlier on saying that the Mateo situation was about to explode, with it being tipped to see trouble. Spot witness isn't always the best of sort of sources. However, it's the sources that are being quoted that I think are very sort of interesting and engaging and worth talking about. So, I'm going to run through it. Mateo Joseph remains on the fringes at Leeds United, having chosen not to go on pre-season tour, tries to force a move to Real Betis, etc., etc., etc. This bit we know. Joe did get a little bit dark. Daniel Farke has spoken about his frustration, etc. And Estadio Deportivo, which is the local paper for Seville, sorry. Sevilla is the club, Seville is the place, Betis is also a club in the place. States the situation is about to explode. They are sensing a little bit of movement in the coming days, which I think is a very, very good thing for Leeds United, because ultimately we want this thing to start moving, because if it doesn't, then we've got no idea what's realistically going on. That's just what Betis will have wanted, the absolute twats. With reports around the club making it clear there's a plan to drag out the situation and put the pressure on Leeds United, and the close of the window gets closer. Which is a weird way of phrasing that, but effectively they're just trying to wait Leeds out and see how long we can just sort of sit and deal with it, and I think it's a little bit of a silly game to be playing, because in reality we don't actually have to sell him, but whatever. In a similar situation, Betis are trying to do the exact same with Anthony, with the belief that the longer the difficult situations go on, the likelier it is that Betis get the deals they want. Pricks, basically. Monday's edition of Diario de Sevilla, which is a local newspaper, again, reports an immense anger at Leeds United towards the player and frustration there's been no development in the situation. So it's a case of, if you're going to keep refusing to play for Leeds, can you maybe get a fucking shift on and not be at Leeds, because that's actively causing us problems. Normally, when a player refuses to train or play, it brings the situation to a head. The buying club pushes forward, stronger effort to sign him, but Betis aren't doing that, because that's what Betis do. They are looking comfortably below Leeds' valuation because they don't want to pay the entire amount of money. I think we're looking at something like 12 million quid, something along those lines, or just a straight loan. They don't want just a straight loan because they see a young player with a decent amount of potential. We do want a straight loan because we see the exact same thing. It sounds like they'll either sign Mateo for the fee they want or walk away, in which case I don't think we sell him. Doesn't seem to be desperation to get him, and only Mateo Joseph is sort of feeling that desperation. And then I quite like this final line. It's a powerful final line. On this, it's not saying that it's Leeds that have done this, it's saying that Leeds are mad at Mateo. But the final line is, the 21-year-old is still in the very early stages of his career, and taking the wrong turn could have serious consequences. I think he's already meeting the consequences being that he is severely removing himself from a club that is actively looking to sort of grow him and develop him and make sure he's got the chance to do quite well. Hold on, Jesus, not that bright. There we go. That is actively trying to develop the player and improve him and make sure that he's able to, do something with his career. Ideally at Leeds United, but now he's looking to force a move. There is one thing that could complicate things, and the thing that could complicate things is not being looked at in this article, but I think is severely worth a point of discussion. Betis aren't the only club that are interested now. So we've heard interest from Girona, we've heard interest from Getafe, I think. We've heard something from Celta Vigo, where there are 3 different clubs now looking at Mateo Joseph and going, well, you don't want to play at Leeds. And Real Betis will have to get a shift on, or they're not going to sign you, because the reality of the situation is Leeds aren't going to wait forever. Like, Leeds aren't just going to say, no, it's fine, you just don't show up to training. That's brilliant. I love the fact that you can only be half-arsed. That's absolutely wonderful of you. Keep doing that, you know? No, Leeds aren't going to allow that. It's going to be a situation where it's like, right, okay, you either get a shift on or you're in the 21s. And then we find a place for you in January. Or we send you out on loan to, I don't know, Blackpool. No, sod it, not Blackpool, Sheffield Wednesday. You can play for Sheffield Wednesday instead. It's one of those where we sort of hold a lot of the cards. Hello, Max. And we can start that bidding war that Max has mentioned about here. Because at the end of the day, if all of these clubs want him, and Real Betis are just doing that thing with like, no, it's fine, we don't have to bother trying to sign him. The longer we wait, the more desperate you'll be to sell him. That works if you're the only club that want the player. But the actual situation is that's not what's happening here. The actual version of the situation is, well, okay, you want him, but simultaneously you're not the only ones that want him. And if Celta Vigo get in there first, I've got a fun little feeling that we might just go, okay, Celta Vigo, would you like to have him on slightly worse terms than Real Betis? It's just a spiteful little, yeah, and up yours, Real Betis, because all you're trying to do is cause a little bit of a conundrum. You're trying to do shenanigans, and you're not really good enough to do these shenanigans. I think Pierre's right. There are 3 years on his contract. He has a bloody long contract, and there is no reason for us to say, oh, we need to sell you or your value will drop. That's not actually going to happen. Because if he really backs himself as a player, A, he would try and get into a Premier League squad, and B, you would actually have clubs that are making the move for you, rather than saying, oh, Betis want to sign me, so I'm not going to show up to pre-season. It doesn't work for you, does it? Because at the end of the day, we don't have to sell Mateo Joseph. But Mateo Joseph needs to move, because I don't think he gets back in. Similarly, there's a weird little conversation going on with Jack Harrison, where Jackie Haradonna, who is half a footballer at best, as far as we've seen him in pre-season so far, also is very probably going to have to find a move. And I don't tend to look too far into the sort of weird social media stuff, but if you do, he still considers himself an Everton player on Instagram, which is nuts, because like we're actively playing against that team in 2 weeks. Exactly 2 weeks, actually. So you'd think, well, maybe, just maybe, I don't have that in my bio. Or I actually go somewhere. I feel like Jack Harrison is very much on the way out. I was having a conversation with some people at Elland Road in the friendly against Villarreal, and we're all sort of the opinion that, like, cool, it's nice that they've made sure that he doesn't get horribly, horribly booed in this match. Well done, lads. But the next match, both the home and away side are going to hate the guy. Because Everton don't want him back, or at least the fan base don't want him back. And we, as far as I can tell, don't want him back. So he's in such a weird, complicated position of, like, you've got to do something next season. So you kind of need to get a shift on. Jack's not going anywhere, he's going to be injured till after the window. I don't think that that is the case. I think he had a minor adductor thing, as far as I could tell from what was mentioned. I don't think it's a big, severe problem. It's just, yeah. Jack's profile just says pro footballer, lol, not Leeds United player. Yeah, this is the problem. And I'll be honest, on the pitch, it doesn't say pro footballer too much. But, well. Joe, this is business, but you're taking it awfully personally. There's business, and then there's conducting business in the right way. So, specifically you've got to do business right. If I'm, there were a couple of times in the organisation of the charity match where there were a few companies that were just like, I don't really know if we want to sponsor the event. And that's fine. That's all good. And there's a couple of companies that I made an agreement with, and there's a couple of players, actually, that said, I would quite like to play in the charity match, and then later on, because of fitness issues, because of anything, they were unable to make it in the end. And at no point did I say to them, well, in that case, don't bother ever showing up to anything ever again, and we're going to forcibly make sure that you're ostracized from absolutely everything. That didn't happen. Because I recognised that, like, A, it's just a pretty rude thing to do, but B, there is no benefit to anyone in that situation of saying, and we should absolutely cut all ties immediately. The difference is, Mateo Joseph is still a contracted player at Leeds United. It's a pretty vast difference to go, oh, okay, so I'm not at this club, I'll talk a little bit of smack about them. Compared to, oh, okay, I'm meant to be on pre-season tour, but you know what, I'll just try and force a move to Real Betis and effectively go on strike. It's stupid. It's nuts. I don't, like, you can make the argument that it's just business, but there's ways of doing business that aren't fundamentally damaging to your own career and to your employer. I reckon if you are running a Lidl and there is someone that's like, I'm not going to show up because I think Aldi are going to hire me, I think you're not going to treat that person with a significant amount of respect. Because respect is earned, and as is disrespect. And if you disrespect a football club, it's fair that the fans disrespect you back. So it's not a case of business or personal, it's a case of, if it was just business, you would have gone to pre-season. And then you didn't. So, not the best of spots. You can't start Harrison against Everton, negativity all around. Absolutely, there will be a lot of negativity. I do not see him playing against Everton. I really don't see him playing at all. I've got to be honest with you. I think he just goes. It's not great. There's a serious conflict of interest playing Harrison against Everton. I don't think it's necessarily a conflict of interest, purely because I don't know if there is still interest from the Everton side. So I don't know if there is conflict there. Harrison on 90k a week, we're not going to be able to get rid of. That's the problem. It might be a case of we end up needing to pay off a chunk of contract to compensate for lost earnings and all that kind of bollocks that happens sometimes. Still claims to be an Everton player. Yeah, that's the thing, though. He's not. Like, if you just accept that he isn't, and he just sort of be like, okay, I will face the music, and whatever will be, will be. I will say for now, I'm a Leeds player. If an offer comes in, I will be honest about that and potentially move on. Cool. But he's not done that. His approach throughout has seemingly been, okay, well, I'm going to say that I'm still an Everton player. I'm not going to roll back on any of the comments that were previously made about how I don't want to be a Leeds United player, which were stupid comments. And in addition to all of that, I'm just going to not show up at Elland Road for the first round of the season, which is daft. I think that's digging yourself a hole that becomes impossible to get out of. Probably keeping Harrison here so they don't lose money on PSR. If a good offer comes in, he's gone. I don't know how much his PSR value is right now, because he's been at the club for a decent while, I think. I don't know what his value's at. I don't know, but either way, just like, go on loan. Just go elsewhere. It just doesn't suit the vibe. Does Harrison count as homegrown? Yes, because it's not club-based. It's nation-based, and he did enough sort of training and development in England / the UK / Scotland / whatever the specific wording is to count as a homegrown player. So he does count. But we're good on that front anyway, so it's fine. Anything over 3 is good for PSR. Okay, that's good to know. I think Mateo, any sale goes as PSR profit, if I remember right. Which will do. That will absolutely do me. I've got no issues with that in the slightest. Whether I think we're using Harrison in case we can't get a winner in. I think we'll get a winger in. That it will happen. It's just a case of taking a little bit of time, making sure that we get the right player. Like, for some reason, people are still panicking a little bit, and it's like, all window we've shown that we're actually quite good at this. Like, there hasn't been a summer window where I think the 49ers have made a real mistake. or at least beyond Jed Spence. But Jed Spence wasn't an issue with them. That was an issue with whatever. Harrison isn't homegrown. He's GB homegrown. He's not club homegrown, I know that much, but club homegrown doesn't matter. At least when you're not in European competition. Let's have a look. Harrison. FBref. If not, I'll try his Wikipedia page. Ah, no, you're right. It was an MLS, so he doesn't count. So he's worth nothing to us. All right, off you fuck then, Jack. Bye, friend. I say friend. Friend is a big word. Friend is doing a lot of work there. You'll go in the winter, you watch. I'm hoping for summer. Summer would be a lot nicer for us and would make me a lot more comfortable with the general direction of travel. I do agree that he's probably not good enough for the Premier League at the moment. Where's this 30 million on players waiting on Muniz? He'll go to Newcastle. I don't think he will. I think Newcastle are currently looking at Šeško, and then if they don't get Šeško, then they've got their eyes on someone else. I don't think Muniz is necessarily the way that they want to go. They've got other directions that they want to take. So I think we'll be okay on that front. It's not going to be the scariest of situations. I must admit, I've been very calm throughout the window with the opening game just around the corner. I'm anxious to get 3 signings done. Striker, winger, backup, fullback. Yeah, those are the 3 areas that we quite evidently need at this stage. But I don't mind it. Like, I think looking at the lineup that we had against Villarreal, yeah, it didn't look perfect. And yeah, there were clear spots of weaknesses. But for me, those areas of weakness were areas of injury for the most part. Like, having James and Harrison, who I know I don't want to be a part of the squad properly, but there's a world in which he might be. But having James and Harrison unavailable simultaneously is unlucky. It's very unlucky. And at the same time as Bogle, also very, very unlucky. Striker, absolutely. Although, I think Peru might do better than I'm expecting. It's hard to say. But, like, we need to have a look at what happened with the right-hand side in the Villarreal match, and we need to realise that that right-hand side is entirely different to the right-hand side that we will play with in the Premier League. In the Premier League, that is Bogle and James. And yeah, the last minute that has to turn into Schmidt, who, let's be honest, looked like he couldn't be arsed for the vast majority of that match. And Brendan Aronson, who isn't often a winger. I think he did quite well on the wing, got to be honest. But it's not his normal position. What if he gets injured? Joe, we're screwed. I don't think we're as screwed as we say. I do think we need a striker. I'm not disagreeing with this. I 100% think we need another striker in. But I'm not scared. I'm not in a position where if we don't have it in by Everton, we're cooked. I think we've got a couple of games. If we get the players in at the end of the window, that's fine by me. I don't mind it. I'm doing no striker predictions. Joseph pre-season had us all with egg on our faces last year after saying he'd tear up the league. I think the difference is Peru has proven that he can do it in senior competitive football. And I think he's not going to stop being clinical just because of the division he's in. It's going to come down to the chances that we can get for him. In terms of most important positions to fill at the minute, for me, without a doubt, the playmaker / winger is the bigger one. And then it becomes the striker, and then it becomes the fullback. But I don't know. Match starts versus Everton. I'm really not sure. I think we'll be able to know after the Milan match. After we play over the Irish Sea, I think we'll know. Because I think that starting 11 will be the same as the starting 11 that we'll have in the AC Milan match. Aronson was jaw-droppingly good in the Villarreal match. He's changed my opinion of him in respect. Yeah, I think the thing with Aronson is you can see the hard work that he puts in, and whilst he'll have the occasional error with his technical play, the fact that he puts all that effort in means it'll make up for those mistakes for the most part. Tanganga, no. If you're calling Tanganga a replacement for Bogle, I've got some hard drugs to sell you. Except I can't sell you them because you're already on them. Because having a look at Tanganga's numbers, you look at Jayden Bogle and you think, cool, you're a fantastic box-to-box fullback. Wonderful. On the other hand, Tanganga didn't get a single assist last season. And he got 0.02 expected assists. He does not do the same job as Jayden Bogle. And we would have to completely change the system. And as much as people keep pointing out the fact that, like, well, Tanganga's got a £1.2 million release clause, have we considered that there is a reason no one's triggered that yet? And it could be the fact that he's not good enough. And there will be people that are like, well, why don't we just sign him as a centre-back? We've got two of those. We got Beal in, we got Bornau in, we already have Strout, we already have Rodon, and Ampadu can play there. Like, Tanganga is a centre-back, and we are good for centre-backs at the moment. As far as Bogle replacements go, Tanganga is the furthest you could possibly go. I might as well say, how are we going to replace Jayden Bogle? I think Pat Bamford. No, completely different jobs. I don't think that would work. Although, 3 at the back, 2 up top, Pat and Piru, you never know. Anyway, I'm going to keep this stream relatively short and sweet because I have to eat and I've got 7 aside later, and I am on the tired side. I do think James Justin will be the one that we get. Yeah, it just adds up. We can play both sides. It's good for us. But I'm going to end the stream there because I am knackered and, as mentioned, had a bit of a bad day. So I don't want to keep on doing the... You know, like, a lot of the times when you're streaming, you kind of put on a vibe that you're not feeling, and it's like, I don't fancy doing that for too long today, because I would like to just have it... I'd like to be me for a bit. Various things, Jim. I can't really go into it at the moment. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the stream. If you did, pop a like on it. That's always massively appreciated. I'm seeing 74 at the minute, so if we could bump that to like 100, that'd be spectacular. Subscribe if you haven't yet as well. I'm going to aim for some pretty big numbers by the end of the window. Ideally like 7,500. I don't know. But as we discovered the other day, there are now leaderboards where I'm going to have to try and start beating Max and Ollie for 4th place. And let's be honest, we're not going to do much better than 4th. Because, Jesus Christ. You have a look at the numbers that are done by Joe and Connor, and you're like, nah, that's not happening. Anyway, you could be a channel member as well. It's $2.99 a month, and you get a bunch of videos earlier and stuff like that. And yeah, gonna leave that there. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all later. Ta-ra.